ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासां ततो जयमुदीरये। अष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। As we are reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, and yesterday we have discussed about soul and super soul. Now, from text 20 to 27, Lord is explaining about Prakriti and Purusha. The first two topics that Arjuna had inquired about in the beginning of this chapter. So, in the text 20, Lord is explaining about Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Viddhananadi Ubhavapi Vikaranshya Gunanshaiva Viddhi Prakriti Sambhavan. Material nature and the living entity should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformation and the modes of matter are products of material nature. So here we need to understand that what is material nature and what are these living entities. In one sense, if you really study properly the scripture, then you will understand that both are beginningless, means they are eternal. Because material nature and living entity, which is Jiva, Jiva is Lord's spiritual energy. So both are, being the energy of the Lord, they are eternal. Their manifestation, like the manifestation of material nature, is considered as a temporary. But material nature itself is not considered as beginningless, but it's considered as a beginningless, not as a mithya, means false. Because being the energy of the Lord, and as it is said that energy never gets destroyed, it gets transferred from one form to another. So same way, right now we are having this material body, which is composition of 5 elements. After destruction of this whole material cosmic manifestation also, this all 5 elements, they are there eternally as a Mahat Tattva. So they also never get destroyed totally. That's why they are considered as a beginningless. Further, Lord says, Karya Karuna Kartatve Hetuhu Prakritir Uchyate Purushaha Sukha Dukkhanam Bhoktrutve Heturuchyate. Nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. So from here, one thing is clear. Matter does not causes either happiness or suffering for you. What causes suffering or happiness for you is the evil living entity. Are you getting that point? If someone throws stone at you and you get hurt, then only it gives pain. Otherwise, the stone lying on the earth, it will not create any problem for you. Unless and until that stone comes in contact with the living entity, which picks up and throws at you, that gives either suffering or happiness. So matter by nature is inert. It does not have any effect, like a knife. If you keep it at kitchen, you can use it for cutting sabji. And the same knife, if it is in the hands of a thief, they will use it to rob someone. Huh? So matter does not causes either pain or pleasure. But what causes? The living entity. And that's why it is clearly mentioned here. Purusha sukha dukkhanam bhoktrutve heturuchyate. The living entity is the cause of various sufferings and enjoyments in this material world. The different manifestation of a body and senses among the living entities are due to the material nature. There are 84 lakh species, different species of a life, and these varieties are creation of the material nature. They arise from the different sensual pleasures of the living entity, who thus desire to live in the body or that, this body or that. When he is put into different bodies, he enjoys different kinds of happiness and distress. This material happiness and distress are due to his body and not to himself as he is. Is this in his original state? There is no doubt of enjoyment. Therefore, that his real state, because of the desire to lord it over the material nature, he is in the material world. In the spiritual world, there is no such things. The spiritual world is pure. But in the material world, everyone is struggling hard to acquire different kinds of pleasures of the body. It might be more clear to state that this body is the effect of the senses. The senses are the instruments for the gratifying desires. Now the sum total, body and the instruments, senses are offered by the material nature. And as will be clear in the next verse, the living entity is blessed or damned with the circumstances according to his past desire and activity. According to one's desire and activities, material nature places one in a various residential quarters. The being himself is cause of his attaining such a residential quarters and his attendant enjoyment or suffering. Once placed in some particular kind of a body, he comes under the control of nature because of the body. Being matter acts according to the laws of nature. At that time, the living entity has no power to change that law. Suppose an entity is put into the body of a dog. As soon as he is put into the body of a dog, he must act like a dog. He cannot act otherwise. And if the living entity is put into the body of a hog, then he is forced to eat stool and act like the hog. Similarly, if the living entity is put into the body of the demigod, he must act according to his body. This is the law of nature. But in all circumstances, the super soul is with the individual soul. That explained in the Vedas, Manduka Upanishad, as follows. Dva Suparanas Sayuja Sakhayaha. The Supreme Lord is so kind upon the living entity that he always accompanies the individual soul and in all circumstances is present as the super soul or Paramatma. So it is clear here that it's living entity who is the cause of suffering and enjoyment for himself. Purusha prakritisto hi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam gunasangasyo sad asad yoni janmasu. The living entity in the material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with the material nature. Thus he meets with the good and evil amongst the various species. This verse is very important for an understanding of how the living entities transmigrate from the body, one body to another. It is explained in the second chapter that the living entity is transmigrating from one body to another just as one changes dress. Which verse is that? Vasansi zarnani yata vihaya navani grihnati naroparani. That's in the second chapter. Lord says that as one dress is damaged or clothes are torn out, then what we do? We go for the new one. So same way, living entity in this particular body, when everything is finished with this body, then he goes for the next body as per his desires. Due to his desires to lord it over the material nature, he is put into such a undesirable circumstances. Under the influence of the material desire, the entity is born sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man, sometimes as a beast, as a bird, as a worm, as an aquatic, as an saintly man, as a bug. This is going on. And in all cases, the living entity thinks himself to be the master of his circumstances. Yet, he is under the influence of material nature. Generally, people, they think that we got a free will, and because of that free will, we can do anything that we want. But our free will is very minute. Unless and until we use it properly, it gets always influenced by the modes of material nature. Because that free will, what we have, to use it in Krishna's service is very difficult. Because after coming in this material world, we get so much enamored with the influence of material nature, it becomes very difficult to use our free will for proper reason. And that's why, because of the influence of material nature, living entity, he travels from one body to another. How he is put into such a different bodies is explained here. It is due to the association with the different modes of nature, one has to rise therefore above the three modes of material nature and become situated in the transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, this material consciousness will be oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desire since time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. That change can be effected only by hearing from the authoritative sources. The best example is here. Arjuna is hearing the science of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long cherished desire to dominate material nature, and gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. In the Vedic mantra, it is stated that as he becomes learned in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionately relishes his eternal blissful life. Like you get a piece of iron and it comes in contact with a magnet, then what happens? It shows that magnetic qualities. As soon as you take it away from them, what happens? It loses that. So same way, when living entity comes in a contact with the Lord, he gets that spiritual strength, that spiritual qualities, which he can exhibit and he can enjoy spiritual bliss. And as soon as he goes away, connection is lost. So further, Lord is explaining about actual Purusha. Who is Purusha? Upadrashtanumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshvara paramatmeti chapi yukto dehesmin purusha paraha. Upadrashta anumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshvara. Yet, in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, who exists as an overseer and permitter and who is known as the Super Soul. He is Upadrashta. He sees what you are doing. He is Anumanta. He gives permission. He is Bharta, Bhokta and Parameshwara. He is the enjoyer, He is the Lord, and He is the Supreme Proprietor, who resides with you in your heart. But we always neglect Him. We don't care about Him. We don't feel His existence because we have this tendency to lord it over what we serve. And that puts us into a situation where we really suffer. Then in the next verse, Krishna confirms the result of truly understanding the relationship between the soul and super soul. He says, Ye evam vetti prakriti cha gunaihi saha sarvatha vartamanopi nasa bhuyo abhijayate. Ye evam vetti purusham prakritim cha gunaihi saha. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entities, and interactions of the modes of nature is sure to be attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. So here it is clear. If you really want to get rid of this material nature, then you should have a clear idea about who we are, what is this material nature where we are put in, and who is that who is totally different from both of us, from living entity and from the material nature. And if someone has a knowledge about this, he is considered as a liberator. It's so simple. But our mind makes it complicated because it does not develop any interest to understand about this. We may spend our whole life to understand these physical laws and chemical equations and mathematical formulas. Huh? Are they going to help you at the time of death? Huh? Nothing. Then who is going to help you at the time of death? But we don't want to learn about him. Is there any education society where or institute where they teach about this? Even the basic needs of our life, they are not taught in our education system. Like, you have to buy a house. Is there any curriculum has based on that can teach you that how you have to buy your house? What are the formalities you have to go through? The essential things which is needed for your life, they are not taught in our education or academics. That's why even though you are most learned, you get fooled by the person who is illiterate. You just try to understand who are these agents? Are they highly educated? But they make you fool. What the hell of this education system then? Huh? Your hard-earned money is robbed by someone who is more not that educated as you are. Why? Because of our ignorance about that. So same way, the most essential thing about our life is not taught anywhere in the world. That's why people, after earning so much of money for the peace of mind, where they go? They go to the person who has left everything, all that things, and sat somewhere aside. To some saintly person. Because that's the real goal of life. After doing all these things, you have to go there. So better to go there only first, rather than jumping around the bush. Huh? But to come to that understanding, it's take whole life. Why? Because there is no proper education system. And here, that's what Lord says. In the next verse, He says that how to get this liberation? What's the process for that? Dhyanena atmani pashyanti kechid atmanam anye sankhena yogena karma yogena chapare. Some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation, other through the cultivation of knowledge, and still other through the working without fruitive desires. So these are the process through which one can look forward to see the Lordship. Through jnana, through performing fruitless or karma yoga, or through meditation. Further Lord says, Anye tvemajananta shrutva anyebhyopasate tepi chati tanantyeva mrityum shruti parayanaha. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about Him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. See, in the previous verse, he has explained about the people who are having a spiritual base because they wanted to know. Jigyasus. There are earthy, the people who want some sort of a benefit from this material world. So they perform different sort of a karma. But ultimately they give up that. And there is one more kind which is above these two is yogi, who leaves everything, goes to the forest, sit down and meditates on the Lord. But there is one more category who has a tendency to hear from the authority. Because it is always better to seek the knowledge from the person who has experience about that. That's why we go to the institutes where there are professors who has done their PhDs or thesis on that subject, and they can guide you because they have gone through that chain. So same way, in spiritual life, there are personalities who would like to hear from the authorities. They hear it and they follow as it is. So that is the shortcut actually. To get it through, like the biggest truth in our life. What is that? We carry our father's name. Everywhere we put his name. How do we know that this person is our father? Do we go for the DNA test? Or we just believe in our mother? She says, he is your father. Finished. Why? Because she is authority in that. Only she can tell you. So same way, if you seek a knowledge from the authority who has experience about that, it becomes very easy for you to go for it, and to understand it. Otherwise, I will find out my father, and you go all around and get done the DNA test of each and every person. You will waste your whole lifetime. Still, you will not be able to find out your father. But going to the authority and seeking knowledge from him is the best way to understand about. That's why Vedas are known as a Veda Mata. So next, in the 27th verse, Lord says about the whole thing, which is the final section of this chapter, and there he mentions about whatever he has explained in previous 26 verses. Now he is going to summarize that thing in next 7-8 verses, where he says that samam sarva bhuteshu tishtanta parameshwaram vinashatvasta vinashantam ya pashyati sa pashyati yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam sthavara jangamam kshetra kshetranya sanyogat tad viddhi bharatarshava. O chief of Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. That's the first question he asked about it. Who is Kshetra and what is Kshetrajna? What is Kshetra and who is Kshetrajna? So here Lord is explaining about whatever you see in existence, both moving and non-moving, is only combination of matter and spirit. Samasarveshu vitoshu tishtanta parameshwaram vinashatva vinashantam yapashyati sapashyati. One who sees Supreme Soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed actually sees. So now he's explaining about the nature of soul and super soul. They are aware, indestructible. Why? Because soul is the part and parcel of a super soul, and super soul in nature is eternal. So both are beginningless and indestructible. Samam pashyani sarva, but remember that both are not same, but they have their own individuality. Otherwise, like a monism, they say, when the soul gets out of the clutches of material nature, then it becomes super soul. It never happens. Because in further 15th chapter, Lord says that, Mama amsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. All the jivas, they are my part and parcel. So they can't be a whole. They always remain part and parcel. Eternally. Prakrutev cha karmani kriya manani sarvashah yah pashyati tathatmanam akartaram sapashyati. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Samam pashyani sarvatra samam avasthitam ishwaram nahi nastyata atmanam tato yati paramam gatim. One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. One who can see that all the activities are performed by the body, which is created of a material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Let's try to understand these words. Seems to be a bit complicated. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, okay, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Prabhupada says, this body is made by the material nature under the direction of the super soul, and whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his doing. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or for distress, one is forced to do because of the bodily constitution. The self, however, is outside of all these bodily activities. This body is given according to the one's past desire. To fulfill desires, one is given the body, with which he acts accordingly. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from the bodily activities. One who has such a vision is an actual seer. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. It is modes of material nature which provides us a body as per the result of our previous activities that we have done in past life. And whatever activities now we are performing because of the condition of this body. So soul is totally different from the activities of the body. Unless and until we understand this, we can't get out of this material body. Need to be understand that our existence is totally different from this material body. यदा भूतप्रतक भावम एकस्थम अनुपश्यति ततएव च विस्तारम ब्रह्म संपत्त्यते तदा. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to the different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains the Brahman conceptual. अनादित्वम अनिर्गुणत्वात् परमात्मा अव्ययम अव्ययः शरीरस्थोऽपि कौन्तेय न करोति न लिम्प्यते. Those with the vision of an entity can see that the imperishable soul is a transcendental, eternal and beyond the modes of nature, despite contact with the material body. O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. A living entity appears to be born because of the birth of the material body, but actually the living entity is eternal. He is not born. And in spite of his being situated in the material body, he is transcendental and eternal. Thus he cannot be destroyed. By nature he is full of bliss. He does not engage himself in any material activities. Therefore the activities performed due to his contact with the material bodies do not entangle him. यथा सर्वगतम सौक्ष्म्याद आकाशम नोपलिप्यते सर्वत्र अवस्थितो देहे तथात्मा नोपलिप्यते. The sky, due to its suitable nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, thou situated in that body. यथा प्रकाशतेका कृष्णं लोकं यमं रविः क्षेत्र क्षेत्री तथा कृष्णं प्रकाशयति भारत. O son of Bharat, the sun alone illuminates all the universe. So does the living entity. One within the body illuminates the entire body by consciousness. Kshetra kshetranayor antaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakritim moksham cha yena viduryanti te param. Those who sees with the eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body, and can also understand the process of liberation from the bondage of material nature, attains to the supreme goal. So here it is clearly again mentioned. This 13th chapter is that one should know the distinction between the body, the owner of the body, and the super soul. One should recognize the process of liberation as described in the verse 8 through 12, when one can go on to the supreme destination. A faithful person should at first have some good association to hear of God, and thus gradually become enlightened. So ultimately the whole thing boils down where one has to understand about the nature of living entity, the nature of material world, and the person who controls both of this, that is super soul. So unless and until one gets knowledge about this, it's not possible to get rid of this material world. So the 13th chapter, it explains about Kshetra, Kshetratnya. What is this Kshetra? This material body or material nature. In micro, this material body is Kshetra. In macro, the whole cosmic manifestation is Kshetra. Okay? In micro, soul is Kshetratnya. Because I am residing in my body, so I know about my body. But I can't know about your body. It's not possible for me. But in macro, the whole cosmic manifestation, Kshetratnya is Paramatma. He knows micro also and he knows macro also. And who knows about their nature is considered as liberated. That's what the summum bonum of 13th chapter. So here we ends the 13th chapter. And tomorrow we'll start with the 14th. Okay? Hare Krishna. Any question? No. Hare